Here.
Mr. Minnick
Yes.
and Chair Rodriguez-Mitten,
Here.
all present.
Great. And thank you, everyone. This next section of the meeting is public comment.
This is item 3, public comment, which is for items that are not otherwise listed on the meeting agenda. So spoken public comment will be accepted during the meeting in person or remotely through Zoom. Public comment in person will be taken first, followed by speakers on Zoom, and you'll be called on by name to speak when it's your turn. If you wish to speak to the commission, please fill out a speaker slip located near the conference room door. If you have anything that you wish distributed to the commission and included in the official record, please hand it to myself for the Parks Department, who will distribute the information to commissioners and staff. For speakers on Zoom, please use the raise hand function to indicate you would like to speak for an item. When the chair calls on public comment, click on raise hand, and speakers will be notified shortly before they are called on to speak. You'll be provided the ability to unmute your microphone and begin speaking. The public comment is limited to 2 minutes. And so I'm seeing no hands raised in Zoom for item 3 public comment, and I have a speaker slip, but it's for item 9.
Okay, so last call for public comment for those of you on Zoom. Nothing? Okay. That's easy. We will move on with item 4, action to set the agenda and approve the September 4th, 2025 meeting minutes. Those meeting minutes are attached to your packets. Commissioners, are there any requests for amendments to the minutes or comments?
I see none. No.
Beautifully done. I thank Tracy for putting those together. Do I have an action to set the agenda and approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we get to the fun stuff. Item 5, our first presentation is the Parks Department report.
Yeah, just a few things. Excited to announce. So after months and months and months, and what feels like months of work, we have officially had the utility poles at Tunitas Creek Beach removed. I don't know if you've seen them.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof of them when driving by. But this was really one of the more complicated elements of the project, just coordinating with 3 different utility companies along with Caltrans. And so the work was scheduled and then canceled and then scheduled and finally conducted. So now we have an open view shed there. The utilities are now in the underground trench. And so we're able to now proceed with the next element of the project there, which is paving and rocking of the pathway that fronts the parking lot, as well as completion of 2 of the 3 overlooks at the top bluff there. One of them is done. The other 2 were not able to be finished while the utility poles were there. So that element of the project is moving forward. Once we have all of the pathways and overlooks done, and we have the lighting in the handrail, which we're about 90% of the way complete with that. The last element that we have to decide is regarding paving of the main access path down to the mid bluff. So that whole element is supposed to be paved as really one of the last part of the projects. Because we need to go in there with heavy equipment to repair the landslides, what we are evaluating is, do we not pave it now? Do we fix the landslide and then pave it after, right? I mean, the last thing we want to do is pave it and then tear it up. So just working through some of those details, as well as, and so we're looking at completion by the end of this year of the initial part of the project. Then in 2026, we will have to go in and do the repair the landslides. And so we're just working through some of the regulatory process on that and the scheduling there. So, but we are excited to have that property open next summer. Once work starts, it's only about a 55 construction day project. So once it gets started, it's not actually that long to fix those 2 slides. When we get more information on that, then we will definitely let you all know. Flood Park Playground is making great progress. They've started construction. They're shaping the site right now. So you'll recall that part of the site has been elevated to make way for the ramp system. So that playground is starting to take shape. The order for the equipment has been placed. Some of the stone has arrived on site. So we're very excited to see that project coming together. We fully anticipate at this point that will be opening to the public in Q1 of 2026. So we're not too far off there. I think the hopes of having a Christmas gift for the community, though, have kind of gone past us. And so now we are looking at Q1 of 2026. Still very exciting, though. Another great thing, and I'll let, I'm not sure if Michelle was going to talk about it. So I'll just say, hey, Michelle, if you can hear me, definitely maybe talk about the pavers for Flood Park. But I'll let her talk about that. And then Coyote Point, we're making great time and great progress on the playground there. So the request for qualifications, or the statement of qualification, is out right now. So we're waiting to hear back on firms that are interested. And then what will happen is they will have to submit all of their qualifications to us. Once they've been pre-qualified, then they'll get the actual RFP. Once we receive the request, the proposals, we'll be able to evaluate those and select who our design build entities can be on that. We're still hoping for an April 2026 start date for that project. We had a really, really cool conversation yesterday with the district staff about, with the playground down, how are we going to provide great services in the park, right? I mean, that's one of the biggest draws to that park. So we are evaluating different type of uses that we can bring in on a temporary basis to both fill the gap in service, but also evaluate, hey, maybe this is a use that we want to make permanent in the park. So we're really excited, not just that during that time we're going to be getting a new playground, but we're also going to get to test some new uses. So we're not yet ready to share what some of them are. Saw the look on your face. But we hopefully will have some maybe in the December meeting to kind of share what we're going to do there. But very excited for that. And then San Bruno Mountain is making just remarkable timing. You all saw it last meeting, and really excited for the progress that's making. And again, that one will also be open by the end of this year. So I think across the board, our capital projects are going just as well as we could hope for. And we've been very fortunate, as has been the case in years past, that the board, the county executive have been extremely supportive of the department and making sure we have the resources that we need. Briefly, as far as programs concerned, there is a Take a Hike this Saturday at Sawyer Camp Trail, and starts at 9:00. And then last thing, we are very excited for Hannah. Today will be her last meeting for a couple months, and then she'll be back when she comes back from leave. But obviously we'll definitely miss her, and you all are now stuck with me. Fortunately for you all, Tracy is here. So, but we'll definitely be missing Hannah while she's out. That's all I have right now, but happy to answer any questions.
And through the chair, Nicholas, I have just 2 other updates to add. So one project that we wanted to also mention and share some information on, so the commission might be able to consider further discussion on for your next meeting, is an effort that the department's been undertaking to nominate the Sam McDonald property at Sam McDonald County Park as a historic district. And so this is a process where the department's been putting together a detailed application packet that really kind of details the history of Sam McDonald, the importance of his ownership of the property, and just his importance as a figure in San Mateo County. And that application is going to the Board of Supervisors in November for their consideration. What would happen if they approve submitting the application is that the State Historic Preservation Office would review and consider whether that would should be recommended as a national historic site on the National Register. And then if they approve that, then it would go up to the federal level to be added to the register as a national historic site, and it would be considered formally a historic district. And the county Parks Department currently has 2 other locations where there are these national designations for Sanchez Adobe and for the Fulcher Stable. So it's a process we've gone through before, but we'd be happy to share some more information on that proposal and that application if the commission would like to consider a letter of recommendation to the board for your November meeting. And then just in terms of the natural resource management updates, fall is usually a very busy time for fuel reduction projects, because kind of after some more restrictive seasonal timing with nesting birds and other wildlife, but before we get into the rainy season. So we've had 3 projects that have been underway between September, really like through end of August and into September. And some will be continuing through October, but we completed a 12-acre shaded fuel break at Serra County Park in the middle of September. We have a shaded fuel break project underway at San Bruno Mountain, which I had shared some information about at the meeting last month, but that work actually got started on the 22nd of September. And they're looking to complete that by the end of this month, so the end of October. And then we also just this Monday started work on our forest health grant project at Pescadero Creek County Park, which is going to be a multi-year, fairly large-scale effort to manage just over 540 acres of the forested area in Pescadero. So it's exciting that that's finally got underway.
Excellent. Questions from the commissioners on any of those items?
Is there a state designation for historical areas too? And does either Sanchez Adobe or Folger or Sam McDonald have that state historical designation if one exists?
So that I'm a little unclear on the logistics of, because I know it does receive, like, through the process of the State Historic Preservation Office reviewing the application, that they're ultimately, a decider on the, validity of the designation. But I don't know that they, whether or not there's like option to stop at the state level for a designation, or if they're usually always referred up to the national level.
Okay, thank you.
So I can look into that more.
It looks like it's both.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm cheating, I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, great, thank you.
Other questions? Nicholas, you're not gonna like this question, but
That's all right.
what is the landslide work setting us back?
Oh, how much?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm assuming it's not free, so.
Well, so no, it's not free. We don't yet know. We're working with the Department of Public Works to contract through their job order contract process or their job process. And then we are also in conversations with the State Coastal Conservancy to secure Prop 4 funding for a portion of that work. So
Okay.
in fact, I had a conversation with the Conservancy as recent as Tuesday. So our hope is that the price comes in and around where the estimate is, and that we're able to secure some grant funding for that
Mhm.
to kind of soften the financial blow of those two landslides. But when we get in contract and we have a full understanding, bring that figure to you all.
Okay.
And then if we get grant funding, we'll let you know about that as well. But it is exciting that Prop 4 funds are starting to hit the street.
Yes, definitely. So good timing for right,
Yeah.
early next year and then getting it done. And yeah, I think the idea of putting forward the nomination for Sam McDonald Park as a National Historic Site is really exciting. I think it bears worth merit for discussing next month and putting together some discussion around supporting that through to the Board of Supervisors. Other from further comments or questions on the director's report before I open it up for public comment?
I think, Nicholas, anything on one of the most visited and coveted parks, Coyote Point? On future, like in the next, and this is a question I posed just before we started our meeting. I asked, the two commissioners what probably stuck out thus far in the best offsite visit. And I think we're probably in unison and wholeheartedly agreeing, says Flood Park was by far the best visit, best reaction, just because it's just gonna be like the Mount Rushmore of parks moving forward. But where is Coyote Point? Because it also has that trajectory to being a wow park with the play area and restaurant and just updating a lot of things. Anything that you might want to maybe include just a little bit or a tablespoon of?
Yeah. So I mean right, we have done a fair amount of work at Coyote Point, specifically the Promenade project. And so we are now in the process of contracting with a design build entity to replace Magic Mountain Playground, which is really the flagship playground of the San Mateo County Park system. And the playground that's going to be going in, although we don't know what it's going to look like specifically, we know what some of the elements are going to be. And I can tell you that it is going to really rival that of the Flood Park playground. I think both of them will be these regional destinations that serve people of all ages, abilities, and interests. And that project, if all goes according to plan, will be completed in 2026. With regards to some of those longer term items like the restaurant, we've had to put that on hold for a couple reasons. Mainly because just the economy has changed, right? I mean, restaurateurs are not looking to gamble on new ventures right now. And where they are, the landlord is putting in a significant amount of the upfront capital, which we don't think is appropriate with taxpayer money. So we've held off on that. We did test the pop-up restaurant concept. It didn't work. So it closed after 6 weeks. But even though we didn't have the results we were hoping for, we got really good information out of it, right? I mean, we really understand how the park could support some type of restaurant. Ultimately, we learned that whatever type of food vendor goes in there is going to have to be something that stands on its own, right? So if you think about what used to be there, which was Castaways, you went to Castaways for Castaways. You didn't go to Castaways because you were in the park and you were hungry. So anything that we do down the road at Coyote Point is going to have to really stand on its own, and it just happens to also be in the park. So it's a place that you want to drive to go there. So these are some of the lessons that we learned, and now we actually, we suspected it, but now we actually have the experience to say, yeah, right. And it's also helpful that we worked with an established restaurateur to try the pop-up. So this is an individual who has successful restaurants on the peninsula, who knows the business and is able to validate the things that I just said. So beyond the playground, we don't know what's next after that. I mean, that's a really big project. It's gonna be we're also replacing the eucalyptus playground, which is a smaller playground in the park that we did take out for safety reasons. It wasn't complying with safety standards. Beyond those two projects, we don't necessarily know what's next. I can tell you what I want to see, which is gonna be upgrading the water and the sewer system. It's not a big flashy project, but people love flushing a toilet and having to flush or hitting the button on a water fountain and water comes out. And I think those are some of those things that we do that are so important but don't get the same recognition. That's between the water and the sewer. It's a $8-12 million project, right? So we really need to secure some grant funding for that. And that's why we're excited to see Prop 4 funding come out. We want to see what the Department of Drinking Water comes out with to see if there's any opportunity there. I think there are some things that we know the park is ready for. We just need to really prepare ourselves to move forward, and we have to finish some projects on our plate. We have to finish San Bernardino Mountain, flood playground, flood restroom, Coyote Playground. But I still think Coyote Point is eventually gonna probably get itself a pump track or a little bike park, and so that'll be the next thing. But again, we have San Bernardino Mountain, we have Tunitas, we have flood, we have Pescadero. We have a lot of projects on our plate, so we do want to make sure that we're not taking on more until we're finishing other ones. Otherwise, nothing gets done. So I don't think beyond the playground we'll be taking on more capital projects out there until we can clear our plate a little bit.
Sounds like there's no fresh money. There's no come on, get it, it's yours. From your synopsis of explanation, it doesn't sound like there's fresh money pot available for, and I get it 1000%.
Yeah.
You can't put your hand in 30 cookie jars and saying, we're gonna get this done and this done and this done. There's an essence of importance from each important project. So I get that you wanna be able to finalize a deal on, every part that you have a major project on that.
Yeah, and even if there was a fresh pot of money out there, I don't even think we have capacity to take on another project, right? And then the other thing is if $1 million did fall in our lap, I'd put a portion of that to the Pescadero project before starting a new project, right? Like there are other things that we have in the works that we could use to supplement with that fund. So yeah, that's probably not the answer you were hoping for, but.
No, it just kind of, felt like, big brother flood and little brother Coyote Point is gonna be neck and neck down the finish line, and it'll get there, but it's just a lot more things that are on the plate. And in the back end it sounds like Coyote Point is gonna get there, but they're just slowly in the infancy stage.
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. I think something I would maybe leave the group with is we learned a lot from Flood Park. And one of the things we learned is that it was probably too big of a project. And I don't mean too big of a project for us to get done. I think we've all been out there, we've seen it. I think the department crushed it. I'm a little biased though. But it took 11 years to get there. So if we broke that into smaller chunks, what could we have gotten along the way that throughout those 11 years, the public could have had use of, right? And that's what I'm saying when I say it's too big is there are ways to phase projects better than what we did there. We didn't know. This is the largest project the department's ever done. We wouldn't have known until we did it. And I'm proud that we did it. I'm really proud of the product. But I think it's so important that as we go through these projects, we take learning lessons and we adjust our approach so that we can be more efficient and effective than ever.
One comment I have or concern I have is you did knock it out of the park with Flood Park, and you set this really high standard. And as diverse as our properties are, I mean, they're very diverse, right? We have coastal, we have very kind of unstructured areas, and then we have the more urban kind of recreational and facility type parks. As diverse as they are, I want to also make sure that they are all getting equal,
Mhm.
have an equal standard of experience with the amenities that we offer. So yes, I think that smaller approach is not only more manageable, but probably makes it easier to make sure that everybody feels like they're getting some attention.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and I'd also just add, not because we have special guests in the audience, but I would add too, we we have 24 units in the system, but we're not looking to do improvements like that at 24, right? Like we would never do anything like that. Never do anything like that at Edgewood, right? It's just not, that is not what Edgewood is. That's not the essence of Edgewood. It's also not the essence of San Bruno Mountain. Not much we can do at Devil's Slide, right? Like, so it's, we do have a smaller number of opportunities to do projects like that. And that does help with them making it more manageable. But no golf course at Edgewood, I promise.
no, I'm just thinking of like standards of like drinking fountains.
Yeah, the basics.
Everybody gets the same nice drink.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes back to also the board just being generous with making sure that we have the resources.
Okay, with no further comments from the commission, we can open up public comment for item 5.1, the Parks Department report.
We have Michelle, if there's some info on the pavers question.
Great.
Sorry, Michelle.
She can talk.
No, it's okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to add a little bit to what
Michelle, we
Nick was.
can't hear you.
Oh,
It's because the TV's muted.
I don't think so.
can you hear me? Everything's on my end.
Uh,
Can you hear me?
It's bought in the Silicon Valley. Is there a mute button in the bottom right, or am I not seeing that?
So we have the audio running.
Audio's on.
Oh, but the audio means we can hear her. That doesn't
Yeah,
mean,
on
and
Bottom
if you go to
right
the
over there,
bottom,
I see an X.
you see
next to that.
yeah, right there.
That's the guy. Yeah, take the X off, click on the
Or
speaker.
if you slide it all the way to the right.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, Michelle?
Yeah.
There
Can
we
you hear
go.
me? Okay, good. Just to add a little bit to what Nicholas mentioned, the Parks Foundation will be selling pavers into the flood park playground. They're 12 by 12 and we have room for 150 of them. These are commemorative pavers. We have, and we're working with Polar Engraving. So we have a special landing page on our website where people can go and choose some clip art, or if they don't want clip art, just including some language. The idea is that we would be raising money for the upkeep of Flood Park going into the future, so the maintenance of all the facilities, primarily the playground. And there will be blank pavers installed in the playground as soon as it's ready. And then as donors choose to purchase a paver, again, they're 12 by 12, and we would be selling them for $1,000 a pop, which is much more affordable than a bench or a table. Then the blank paver would be taken out and this paver would be put in its place. And again, all the money raised would go specifically for Flood Park's upkeep. So that's just a little update. Was that what you were hoping to hear, Nicholas?
That was it.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
So now calling on other public comment for item 5.1 on the regular agenda.
Yeah, I put 9, but maybe it's more relevant that I do 5
Sure, yes.
regarding what we just talked about.
You can do that, yeah. So then we have Jane, like to speak.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jane from Board Sports. We're the concessionaire at Coyote Point. We've been there for 18 years. We operate a wind sports concession, so windsurfing, kiteboarding, wing foiling, paddleboarding. And then we also operated a snack bar for 18 years. And as Nicholas said, they brought in the pop-up to test that. That, that pop-up occupied the building where our lesson and rental operation happened. So Nicholas was great. He helped us negotiate a new contract and we moved into 2 containers that we fortunately had some mitigation funds to pay for because it was about $30,000. So we moved all our equipment over into those 2 containers and they're really working well. We want to be on the same page with the park in terms of the food offering, and I know that's kind of a future uncertainty. We operated a snack bar with, you know, ice cream, chips, sodas, basically takeaway inexpensive food, and it was really popular because of the kids park. You know, we were cheap, like $2 popsicles, so it was a lot of just come and go, quick transactions and people going back to the kids park. Maverick Jacks was more, they were trying to do a sit down, and Coyote is a windy place. That's why we're there. It's 25 knots almost every day between April through September. So we would love to work with you guys on, you know, what's going to be the good fit, whether it's a, you know, prepared food vendor that is a good fit for takeaway or whatever ends up working out. And in the interim, we would love to, you know, I know there's going to be at some point an RFP for our whole concession. So we're excited to respond to that when it comes out. And maybe I can talk to Nicholas to see, hey, next season, could we, on a temporary basis, bring back the snack bar until that's decided so that little kids and families have a way to get a cup of coffee, grab a hot dog, whatever. So that was our existing snack bar, and we like the idea of prepared food. We, you know, there actually is we had a customer just produce a Coyote Point promotional video that we put on our website that highlights the park and how nice it is. And I mentioned Maverick Jacks in that video, so we're sad that they didn't work out and it was so short-lived, but we'd love to work with the park on a solution that'll work, that'll serve the users that are there, because we've been there a long time and we have a passion for the park.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bring back the snacks.
Hey, that's right. They're popular.
I'm seeing, there's no hands raised in Zoom, so that's all for public comment.
All right, great. Let's move on to item 6.1, which is the Parks Foundation presentation about their grant award for the 2024 Fish and Game Propagation Fund.
Okay, and I hope to be able to share my screen.
Yeah, I just pressed allow, Michelle. I think you should
Perfect.
be able to know.
Thanks. Great. Hopefully everyone can see that. So thank you to San Mateo County Parks and the Parks Commission for the $15,000 grant from the, let me just hide this, from the Fish and Game, from the 2024 Fish and Game Propagation Fund. All funds have been spent on the Memorial Park Nature Center upgrades. The San Mateo County Fish and Game Propagation Fund allows the county to disperse 50% matching funding for projects that provide maximum public benefit through the protection, conservation, propagation, and preservation of fish and wildlife in San Mateo County. The new interpretive media at the Memorial Park Nature Center educates the public on fish and wildlife conservation topics, including ecological concepts of watersheds, creeks, riparian areas, and redwood forests, and the significance of Pescadero Creek as breeding grounds for steelhead trout and the implications for visitor use. The headwaters of Pescadero Creek are close to Highway 9 and Castle Rock State Park, high in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Pescadero Creek, which flows year-round, is a major steelhead spawning stream. The stream is also being restored for coho salmon. It flows through Memorial Park on its way to the Pacific Ocean. The coho salmon found historically in Pescadero Creek are special fish. They are the southernmost subset of salmon and are the most endangered. These coho are specially adapted to live in the warmer temperatures of the Central California coast. And coho have started to come back after being extinct in Pescadero Creek for nearly 20 years. Past efforts at Memorial Park included removing the dam at Pescadero Creek and re-engineering an important creek crossing that is seen here to improve access to upstream habitat. So this is the visitor center at Memorial Park, and the nature center is on the left-hand side. And this is a before shot of the nature center. The corner closet that you see here was removed and the flooring restored to create a little extra space in the room. Fish and game funds were primarily used for the wall murals as well as the reader rails and the flip books. This is a closer look. You can see the tie-in to Fish and Game funds. It's educating the public about the need for and importance of protecting riparian corridors. Occupying less than 2% of the land in San Mateo County, riparian areas are the most important wildlife habitat in our region, buzzing with biological activity for native and migratory species alike. This is an example of one of the flip books where people can learn more about the anatomy of a healthy creek. There's also flip books that show how people have used and enjoyed Memorial Park over its 100-year history. The foundation was also lucky to be able to secure the park uniform of former Park Superintendent Bob Emmert. And one of the park rangers built a shadow box for it. In the picture on the right, you can see the shadow box on the left-hand side. And then here's another flip book highlighting the birds that can be seen in the riparian corridor, like the black phoebe, which can be found near Pescadero Creek. And then coming soon will be a 3D topographical map of the Pescadero Creek watershed. The foundation will be funding this as well through other grant funds. This will be a really nice centerpiece to the Nature Center. We hope when everything has been installed to hold a ribbon cutting at the Nature Center. And it would be great to have the Parks Commission in attendance when that gets scheduled, to be determined depending on weather and other things. And then just to highlight a couple other elements that the foundation funded at the Nature Center, which you see here. This was through other grant funds. We improved the accessibility into the Nature Center as well as around the gathering area just adjacent to it, where a lot of park activities meet and begin. And then we were really, really happy to be able to support 5 different community-based organizations with camping trips this past summer at Memorial Park, including the Latchkey Alternative Center, which is based in Daly City. Here they are enjoying some camp-made boat race along Pescadero Creek. And so we're planting seeds that will last a lifetime, inspiring future conservationists, park rangers, biologists, and the like. So we really appreciate the funding, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Questions, commissioners?
Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Michelle.
I have to say, as stunning as the slides are, if you see the interpretive center in person, it is stunning. Those murals on the walls are just amazing, and there's so much information in the flip books. But so Michelle, one of the reasons we wanted to ask our grant recipients to present is obviously to see the amazing work you've done, but also to ask. It was our first time dispersing the Fish and Game funds through this kind of grant process. Do you have any feedback or suggestions on the process itself and how we could improve it for the next time that we hopefully have funds to offer?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation goes after a lot of grants, and so we're very aware of the more difficult ones out there. And I would say this process was very easy. So we're grateful for the opportunity. The application was very clear. There weren't really any issues. The timeline was very clear. We didn't have any problems submitting on time. So I can't really think of any feedback. We're just really grateful for the opportunity to be able to access this funding. And I do want to give a shout out to Catherine Wright and her team, the interpretive team, for working so well with the consultants to get everything done. You know, the foundation just helps raise money for it, but a lot of the design work and the collaboration is done by you know, Catherine and her team. So just wanted to give them a shout out for a good job.
Questions from any other further comment from before? Okay, so go ahead and open it up for public comment. Further questions?
Now calling for a public comment for item 6.1 on the agenda, the Parks Foundation presentation on the Fish and Game grant funding. I have no speaker slips for this item, and I'm not seeing any hands raised in Zoom.
Thanks again, Michelle.
Yep,
Oh,
thank you.
If I can, I just wanna thank Michelle. Michelle, I think so much great work gets done because of the foundation. And the foundation is able to fund things that we would never really be able to do. You highlighted that Memorial Park camping program. I just want you to, from my perspective, I think it is the most important program we provide as a department. Out of everything we do, I think that camping program is the most important thing we do. And it is because we are introducing kids to a world that they may otherwise never have experienced. And I don't think there's anything we can do that's more important than that. But that program would have never gotten off the ground if it wasn't for you and for the interpretive team working together so well and coming up with big ideas and bringing them forward with so much energy that no one in their right mind could ever say no. I just want to let you know that, and I really do appreciate it.
Just to chime in, the pictures that we showed, the Latchkey Alternative Center from Daly City, pretty much all of those kids went camping for the very first time. Their group leader was an experienced camper, but the kids were over the moon. And so seeing the photographs of them setting up tents for the first time and all of them chipping in to clean up the dishes was really heartwarming. So we love spending money on this, but I also want to give a shout out to Tracy for being a really great partner in the coordination of that effort. So all of this is really just, a team effort. So just grateful to be able to do it.
Let's move on to our partner presentation focus, the Friends of Edgewood.
Around. Either of those.
These two, these.
Peter, you sit in that one, and you'll be on.
All
Alright.
right. If possible, I'd love to introduce Peter and Barry briefly. I just want everyone to know, so we've been working with Peter and Barry for several years now on how the department and the Friends work together and coordinate. And I have to say, I think we have a remarkable relationship, but it would never have been possible without them. And I also think, I was just explaining to the reporter actually behind me before the meeting, that when it comes to volunteer organizations and stewardship, the Friends of Edgewood are the gold standard. I mean, I have never heard of an organization that does it anywhere close to as well as they do. And Edgewood is in such a remarkable condition because of the thousands, I believe is the correct number, of hours that the Friends put in on a volunteer basis. So we are so lucky to have them as partners, as friends. And I'm very excited to have them here with you all today. But we are very fortunate and just always appreciate having the opportunity to sit with you all and hear about the work you do.
Well, we really appreciate the chance to come and share about our organization with all of you. I'm Barry Moore. I'm the Vice President of Friends of Edgewood, and
Peter Ingram, and I'm the current president.
so Tracy kindly is gonna drive for us. So the mission of Friends of Edgewood Natural Preserve is to protect Edgewood's extraordinary biodiversity. That's first and foremost. But it's also to foster lasting connections with Edgewood and the larger natural world for the people that are our visitors that come to see Edgewood. Friends of Edgewood was founded in 1993, and that followed a very passionate and successful citizen activist campaign to protect Edgewood from a whole lot of plans for a whole lot of somewhat wacky development schemes that were slated for that property. And the thing about Edgewood that is special in the San Mateo County Park System is that we are a natural preserve. We're not just a park, we are the first and only natural preserve in the San Mateo County system. And that's because of the incredible biodiversity that we find there. We're an all volunteer organization, so with no paid staff, but we have 140 amazing volunteers. As Nicholas said, our volunteers are the best. They really are a superlative group of folks. They participate in over 30 different programs that are focused in 3 different areas: wildlife and land stewardship, nature education, and interpretive programs. Those are sort of our 3 pillars of what we do. Last year, it wasn't just thousands, it was 14,216 volunteer hours in contribution to all of these different programs in support of Edgewood. That was an increase of over 600 hours from the year before, and we're on track this year for probably an increase of about that much going forward. So we just keep growing and growing and growing. We have more people that that want to volunteer at Edgewood. They're passionate about it. Some of our volunteers have been there since the very beginning, over 30 years. But we have many that have been there for years or decades. It's a very, very long tenures within that group. We are a membership organization, so anybody that makes any kind of contribution to Friends of Edgewood in any amount becomes a member of Friends of Edgewood. And our members have raised over $1.5 million over the years in support of Edgewood and the programs that we do. We also get money from grants that we apply for, sometimes a large individual gift or legacy gifts that come through. This is basically, but probably 90% of our revenue comes from our member dues and individual gifts. That biodiversity, I'm sure I don't probably need to remind you how special Edgewood is, but I will. So we are really grateful to the founders of Friends of Edgewood, who a lot of them were California Native Plant Society members and amateur botanists. They were folks, local folks that hiked the property before it was protected and recognized that there were a lot of hidden treasures at Edgewood that needed to be saved. So what you have at Edgewood are a number of unique ecosystems and habitats in a pretty small area, 467 acres, but we have oak woodlands, coastal scrub, chaparral, riparian zones, and then probably most important, 160 acres of serpentine grasslands. And so those serpentine grasslands are what contribute to those spectacular springtime displays of wildflowers, which is what Edgewood is known for. We get hundreds and thousands of visitors that come during the spring, especially to see the wildflowers, but there's stuff happening all year. There's 570 different plant species, and 2/3 of those are California natives. Many of them are endemic, meaning they grow nowhere else. A couple of them, Peter's going to talk about our focuses for our habitat restoration efforts, but we have at least 12 plant species that are listed as either endangered, threatened, rare, or locally significant. So these are special plants that need special protections. And that is one of the things that we're really, really passionate about, is making sure that these ecosystems stay healthy, so Edgewood stays resilient and these plants don't go away. Beyond all the great plant life, we've got extraordinary wildlife, 22 different documented mammals, hundreds of birds, 13 reptiles and amphibians, 35 butterflies, countless insects, fungus, lichens, moss, you name it. So the folks that come and enjoy the 10 miles of trails at Edgewood are really getting to experience California habitats and that kind of, iconic California landscape. And we're just 10 minutes away from the city centers of Silicon Valley. So we think it's pretty special, and that's why we put so much effort into our interpretive programs. We have probably, I would say, the most robust docent program of all of the Friends groups within San Mateo County. We have highly trained docents. We have currently about 48, 50 active docents. We bring in a new class of 12 docents each year. They're trained for weeks. I think it's 8 weeks of training that they go through to learn all of the plants and different things that make Edgewood special. We lead about 100 free public wildflower guided hikes or nature hikes for adults and for children. In the springtime alone, this year we led 80 hikes that go from beginning of March to the end of May, really kind of in that middle of that peak wildflower season. For folks that can't go on a guided hike, we have trail side interpretation, so trail ambassadors and trail tales, interpretive signage. And then we put out different educational pieces through a weekly wildflower survey that has a cult following. we have a team that goes around the preserve every single week, surveying all of the blooming plants and anything else interesting that's happening in the preserve. They put together a photo essay and a narrative that describes what's happening. It's really fabulous, and people they love it. We have a quarterly newsletter that we also put out. We've been putting that out for decades. And then we've put a lot of effort into an online field guide and different online materials through a partnership with plantid.net that help people dig deeper into some of the species there, so that you can go and research things that you've seen, find pictures, find out more information. And then finally, our volunteers love to get out and talk about Edgewood. They like to be talking about it at Edgewood, but they also like to be out in the community. So we do community outreach. We just were at Fall Fest at Flood Park, which was great. We've been at Summerfest for the last couple of years. So we have folks that just can't get enough of helping share what's cool about Edgewood with the rest of the community. And then the real showpiece of Edgewood from a nature education perspective is the Ed Center. So the Bill and Jean Lane Education Center is hosted by all of our volunteers, or some of our volunteers. And we had about 5,000 adults, and what do we have? Over 1,600 children that visited the Ed Center. It's open Wednesday mornings and most Wednesdays and weekends. But what you find there when you go there are a number of interactive and rotating exhibits. We have hands-on activities for kids. We have really, really passionate hosts who love answering questions and help guide people to what they can see, how they can have a great hike, how they can have a great experience. And surrounding the education center, we have one of our volunteers designed the native garden and has planted it, tended it for years now. It's organized by those special habitats so that we have representative plants that grow in Edgewood in the native garden with some signage. And it helps anybody that's coming, even if they can't go on a long hike, they can have an experience to see the plants and understand what's there. And we have a really cool serpentinite boulder. So I don't know if you all know, but serpentinite is our California state rock. And we found this giant boulder at a Caltrans dump site. And we got permission, the rangers helped us collect it and install it in pride of place right at the entrance to the native garden. And that really helps us tell that story about what's special about those serpentine grasslands, even when you're coming to the woodland side of the preserve. So Peter's going to talk a little bit about habitat restoration under the umbrella of our Project 467 program.
Okay. Hello. So Barry talked about protecting the extraordinary biodiversity of Edgewood, and a lot of what that means to our volunteers is making that very careful decision to intervene in what's going on, whether it's invasive weeds or other threats to the resource. And so back in 2018 to 19, quite a few of our folks got together and said, we've got these various programs that are out trying to do things that are connected in the habitat. We need an umbrella structure so we can be more organized and more efficient with our resources. So the also beloved Project 467 was launched in 2019. And the project's actually what pulled me back into the Friends. I'd been absent for a decade or so. And there's no project I don't love. So when I got a call from my friend Neil, it's like, hey, we got this project. Okay, I'll do it. So that's what pulled me back in, because I really wanted to see how far an all volunteer organization could stretch the envelope of effective project management. And I think it was within the context that Nick alluded to earlier, which is we can't do it on our own. We've got to have a viable partnership with, in this case, the owner and the operator of the property, as well as all the other resources like Michelle brings to and our other partners. But just briefly, the ingredients of projects 467, separate projects that are focused on different things. We've got the Weed Warriors, which is a group of volunteers that have been in operation over 30 years now. And they get together at least twice a week. In the summer, I think they're actually doing 3 sessions now. And there's probably 20 to 25 active people that rotate in and out of days in the field. The Weed Warriors, one of their claims to fame is they pretty much eradicated yellow star thistle in Edgewood Preserve back in the 2010s or so. It was a huge threat, especially in the native grasslands. Greengrass 2.0 is fairly new. That project is focused on, and I'm going to go into more detail in the next couple of slides. It's really focused on what we call the fertile grasslands, which means that there's a mix of soil conditions that are not the pure serpentinite soil. And so they're more prone to invasives coming in and taking over. So within that 160-ish acres that Barry alluded to, there's a subset of that are vulnerable to, and in fact, rapidly filling up with invasive, mostly European grasses. So green grass is about pushing back on that in that space, away from, the fragile habitat that's still intact and in good shape. We have a fairly new group, and the individual on the screen, James, is actually our current best friend of Edgewood, which we do every year. James came along as a new volunteer probably 5-ish years ago and really deep dived into okay, Barry, you got to help me, turtles. Threatened.
The Edgewood, rare, threatened, endangered, or locally significant. So we had to sum
You guys don't see
up a little bit, but we got turtles out of that.
Yeah, so we call them the turtles, and they are doing some amazing scientific mapping of species and really working closely with the NRM team in your department to try to figure out how to know where things are so that we not only can observe them and share them with the public if they're close to a trail, but also protect them from things that need to be done, like fuel breaks and other interventions that have to happen. Edgewood Farms is 2 compounds in the day camp area that were created to grow native seeds at scale that could be used for the restoration in the grasslands. So we go out and collect seeds under permit from your department, and we grow those on into quantity, and then we use those to replant after we've done whatever treatments on invasives. And then the Thornmitt and Pentequita restoration projects, those are with our partner Creekside Science. They really operate those 2 efforts to not only restore, but increase the populations of those 2 rare and significant plants. And I'll talk a little bit more about Creekside in a moment. Western bluebird monitoring has been going on for quite a few years. It started as a collaboration with the local Audubon Society and has really sort of grown into yet another venue where volunteers who have a special passion or interest, like birding, can do what they love, which is help the birds thrive in Edgewood. And then the camera trappers, they're the folks who operate our wildlife cameras that are off trail in various parts of the preserve. Again, that's under our permit for activities. And they help us really capture imagery and more understanding about where the creatures are and what they're up to. And there's some amazing footage that they captured over the years on the trails. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Greengrass 2.0. So we call it 2.0 because Greengrass 1.0 was an experiment with a treatment called hydromechanical pulverization, HMP. And Creekside ran an experiment for, I think it was 4 years, where we had test plots where they would go out in the winter just after things had started to seed out, and they would use essentially a power washer to scrub the non-native plants that were just coming up out of the soil and then replant with native plants. And we had a variety of ways of testing that scientifically. It was variable in its effectiveness over that period of time as the monitoring began to be conducted. And the part that really presented the most challenge to us is just the sheer cost of it. And if we think about the amount of acreage that really needs some sort of treatment, we could just not rationalize spending that type of money and trying to scale that up. We got several grants to help us conduct those experiments, and we learned a tremendous amount in the process. And that really launched the Friends group into 2.0, which is there a different way to get the invasives out of the grasslands and give some space for the natives to get a foothold. So that's what we're doing now. We have an audacious goal. It says ambitious, I say audacious, which is restore 50 acres of Edgewood's fertile grasslands to 75% native cover by 2050. And every time Greengrass meets, they look at that and go, oh my God, can we do that? And the answer is we're gonna sure try. So the hypothesis shows on the screen, which is if we remove thatch, supplement with seeding, can we establish a self-sustaining community of native cover, especially the bunch grasses, which once they have a chance to come back in, the way they grow with their root systems and their spacing really helps to keep the non-natives out, but they've got to have a nudge. So that's what we're trying to do. Okay. So this slide just goes into a little bit more detail about the program. So far, we've seen our volunteers put in 1,200 hours just in the last 2 years, and that's on very small experimental plots. We've also, through natural resources management, been able to retain the services of Go Native with some mechanized dethatching. And last year we did the first experiment with a 2-acre plot. I think they've actually just finished this year's plot as well, just this week. Yeah. And so we're monitoring that very closely and carefully to see what results that brings. We think that if we see that that's actually trending in the right direction, that it is scalable and it is within the realm of actually being able to pay for over time. But it's complicated because to get to that audacious goal, we're going to have to add 2 to 4 acres every year, but go back and be ready to either retreat or touch up or continue the monitoring what's behind. So there's a very rapid curve of activity level that's going to be created. And we are, with lots of support from natural resource management, we have a pretty effective scientific monitoring program. James and several people in our volunteer corps are, you could call them citizen scientists, but in terms of their knowledge and their abilities to use tools, they're quite sophisticated, and having NRM to work with has just been invaluable. So now I'm going to switch to the final P in the 3 Ps, which is partnerships. I think Nicholas said it well. Partnerships in this kind of endeavor are absolutely essential to success. And we are so grateful for these 3 primary keystone partners in our universe. Since Nicholas came on as Parks Director, I think we've seen a real shift in both the relationship in the field between rangers and staff and our folks. But more importantly, I think our folks are really feeling like, yeah, they've got our backs. They know what we're doing, they're supportive, and they're ready to help. And that's been just a huge shift in the sort of the tone and the quality of that relationship. It also makes an environment where people can not only be successful at what they're doing, but they can enjoy it and it's more fun. And so all of those things I think are really contributing in a very positive direction. Michelle, who's always a hard act to follow, has been invaluable. She's helped us get several grants. She has been steadfast supporter annually with programmatic support and is an active volunteer at Edgewood, which we highly value. And then I mentioned Creekside Scientists. They are a small scientific consulting organization that specializes in fragile habitats in this part of the world. And Dr. Stu Weiss, has been around Edgewood since way before the Friends and actually way before the coalition.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started looking at Edgewood and its biodiversity way back in the 80s. So we are very fortunate that we've got them as partners. They're our one and only contractor in our little small but mighty organization. So we fund various pieces of the work that they're doing each year in the preserve in collaboration with the parks budget and with Michelle and whatever grant funding we can bring to the table. And then I wanted to just highlight some of the partnership projects specifically that are going on right now. Unfortunately, the first bullet, the Bay Checker Spot Butterfly, just within the last month or two, Creekside Science has said, we don't think this is a sustainable effort. The butterfly has essentially gone extinct again in Edgewood. And all the things that we tried to create to bring it back, the food source and a more robust, healthy habitat, just don't seem to be working. So they have reluctantly and very emotionally said, we think it makes sense to just hit the long-term pause button, focus on other areas where we can get results, and sort of keep in mind that that's still out there as a potential challenge. Whereas with the Penakita and the thorn mint, they've made huge strides in increasing the populations and the number of colonies of those plants in the preserve. I mentioned the green grass program. We meet regularly with the NRM staff, both in the field and regularly on a screen to just plan, like, what do you guys got in your radar? What are we doing? What do we need to support each other? And so forth. I think the project I would point out as having really helped change our relationship is the annual trail brushing. I would say before last year, I think last year was when we finished the standards together.
Mhm.
And this year was the first year that the trail brushing operated under those new standards. Before that, the word trail brushing would send people's hair on edge in the Friends of Edgewood. It was like the worst thing that we endured every year, because no matter what, some special plant or some special visitor experience got harmed or overlooked or somehow impacted by that important but kind of brutal work. So Barry and I started working with Hannah and Nicholas on, we really need to change this because this is what people see and experience that sort of allows them to form opinions about how well the preserve is being managed as a preserve and not just another park, as some of our folks might say. So I think that's just been a huge positive advance, and we're very encouraged with the results of year one. We're going to debrief pretty soon, like what did we learn? What kinds of adjustments can we make? And our folks are just really excited that they can focus on helping getting ready for that. But also as they take visitors into the preserve, it's just a nicer experience being on the trails because it's been done so much more thoughtfully and carefully to make sure that those experiences are as best they can be. And then we've been working with Nicholas on how do we make the trailhead at Kenyatta Road for the Clarkia Trail more safe. The parking's on the other side. It's on a high-speed curve. And we made some good strides. The County Public Works Department did a major project last year on Edgewood. Bike lanes, crosswalks, signage. And we're seeing some good results from that. Right now, our shared challenge is how do we get the PG&E contractors to quit parking there? Because now that the parking is safer, our folks want to use it to get in preserve and other visitors. So we're working on that. That's on the radar. And then just finally, junior rangers and events. I think Barry really covered this topic, but junior rangers is something that we did for a period of time when we had some volunteers who had a special interest in doing that. But as they left the organization, it became harder to sustain that, especially with connections to schools. So now we're seeing sort of re-energized approach in collaboration with the Parks Department and other volunteers and other organizations. So that's been a real plus too. So all of these are sort of current examples of that vibrant partnership and all the moving parts that go with it. Thank goodness we didn't have any landslides to sort out or major projects, but as you hopefully have heard, there is so much going on in that very small 467 acres. And we're just very grateful that we're there and doing what we can do to help make it a great experience for everybody. I think that brings us to the last slide to just remind us that once again, that none of us can do this important work alone or in a vacuum. And there is this amazing ecosystem out there in the county and in this state and on this coast that we can tap into for resources, for learning, for shared experiences. And again, we're just so fortunate to have that rich ecosystem supporting the very rich ecosystem in Edgewood. I think I'll stop there. Thank you. And Barry and I can answer any questions you might have. And thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you both. That's incredible. I love the fact that you gave us a very holistic view of everything you do. You do a lot, and I think we have an incredible appreciation for everything you do for the preserve. Questions or comments from commissioners?
You mentioned the non-native grasses and the invasion and that kind of thing. This might be a silly biology question, but how do the invasive species actually get onto the preserve? They travel in the wind and root, grow that way.
Yep. Wind is probably the biggest distributor. Animals actually can move across boundaries and carry seeds in their fur or in their droppings.
The other thing about all of our lands, all of our open spaces, is that they were impacted in the 1700s and 1800s by cattle coming in that were never here, and European grasses being planted to support livestock. And so we didn't start with pristine landscapes. European settlers started by disrupting a lot of that. And so that still exists on Edgewood.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of ryegrasses and different types of grasses, which might have been cattle feed. And so trying to get that out of there is important. But a lot of those really pernicious weeds like the yellow star thistle and Italian thistle and Brachypodium is like the nemesis of grasslands. All these things,
Yeah.
they come in, just as Peter said, on your shoes,
Right.
on the tires of trucks, from the wind, on the, whatever.
Okay, thanks.
They have no respect for boundaries or.
I just wanted to put one little highlight, another statistic on the San Mateo thorn mint restoration, because I think that's a fun fact for you to know, is that the San Mateo thorn mint existed only at Edgewood. There were only 250 plants left at Edgewood. And through the restoration with Creekside Science, where they collected seed, they propagated, they found good new habitats for it to plant. There's now over 40,000 plants at Edgewood and in different locations in the area. So it's a huge success story on restoration of an endangered species at Edgewood. So just
Thank you.
final thought. You all should come take a hike with us. We'd love to have you come out and be happy to host you anytime.
Of your 140 volunteers, are they mostly in that Emerald Lake Hills area or Redwood City area, or do they
Yeah, good
come?
question.
Are there-
There is a Emerald Hills, Redwood City, San Carlos centric core that mostly the people who've been active for a long time. But our volunteer base, boy, we're scattered all over.
Volunteers that live in San Francisco. We have all the way San Francisco to San Jose is sort of, our universe.
Yeah.
Same for our visitors. We see visitors coming from San Francisco, from the East Bay, from the South Bay.
Yeah, Bay Nature magazine does a great job of highlighting, especially in the spring, like where the wildflowers are. And that has brought people from all over the greater Bay Area that have really changed the sort of the profile of the visitors. But I think our aspiration is that our volunteers will mirror that sort of more regional, diverse population, both in where they live and how old they are and, what walk of life they come from. Yeah, it's good.
Well, thank you. This was really, really informative, which is exactly what we hoped for this session, and trying to get to know all the park partners better. So really appreciate everybody in your organization.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
spending
you.
so much time today.
Thank you.
Much.
All right.
You know what, I was gonna mention. I think we have a location, if possible, to hold an offsite at Edgewood. I'm thinking, like, I'm going on year 9, God willing, next year. I'm like, why haven't we had anything at Edgewood? And I think, first off, thanks for this, Barry and Peter. I think you've outdone yourself. You've overachieved. This is underappreciated. And what just kind of hit a flashlight and like in the dark and like a light bulb went off. It's like these kids have benefited from this. Those who have not able to afford or not able to do things extracurricular or have things to do or prevent them from, platooning outside of the realm of negativity, and they've kind of found something that they might have a future career in, or maybe it's going to impact their lives as they may not even have to go in a career of this, but it's something that they can look back and say, you know what we endured and what we experienced and what we got the opportunity and a chance to attend this camp and go to these hikes. So I think, I don't want to say shame on us, but I think we have to make the leap forward and to maybe do a hike with you guys, and maybe as commissioners, I think we're indebted to you for not only this presentation, but you know what? We have no excuse to come out and support
That's great. Well, I would say April, if you guys have an offsite in
There
April,
you go.
there's the time to come and we would be
Lot of snakes
delighted
in
to
April.
have you.
A lot of snakes in April.
There are so many snakes, Nicholas, you won't.
Listen, you
understand.
know my wrong rule. I don't go to Edgewood during peak snake season. No, I don't. You don't get me past the Ed Center.
We don't care for things, but if,
Mm.
you're
No snake.
willing to open your doors in April for a spring meeting, why not?
Why? Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Before you leave though, we do want to open it up to any public comment or questions for people attending online.
Now calling for public comment for item 6.2, the partner presentation by the Friends of Edgewood. And I have no speaker slips for this item, and I'm seeing no hands raised in Zoom.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Luck.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah,
April.
Second
wrong
that.
calendar.
thanks y'all for coming. Bye-bye.
Okay, item 7.1, update on commissioner vacancies. Any news?
So the vacancy for District 2 is posted. I don't recall,
That would be Supervisor Ray Mueller's district.
no,
Oh,
that's,
that'd be Supervisor Jackie's district.
no, that's Noelle.
But Noelle, of course.
Yeah, so that would be the replacement for Commissioner Block.
Noelle, yes.
And so they have the vacancy posted and advertised right now. And I'll try and see if I can pull up when that will close. But obviously right now there's gonna be a time period where they're just having a, advertisement
Right.
for the vacancy, hopefully get some good applicants and then go through the process of interviewing and selecting a commissioner from there. So, if that still anticipate, a few months of timing to go through that whole process. For the District 1 vacancy, that is for Supervisor Steer. They have been in the process of interviewing applicants. My understanding most recently was that they did have an applicant that they were interested in proceeding with, but they ultimately ended up deciding that that wasn't, they were not
Was that
interested in pursuing that. So I don't know where the decision-making stands on the other applicants, or if they're considering re-advertising. But unfortunately, yeah, they had a potential candidate. Fine. So that is the main updates I have right now. So still 2 vacancies there.
All right. So in the meantime, we are still a quorum, so we can proceed ahead. We have 2 meetings left this year.
For the year, yeah.
Yes, so hang in there, everyone.
And yeah, sorry, it does look like the application deadline for the District 2 vacancy right now is October 10th.
Okay.
And the District 1 hasn't been posted.
They haven't reposted, but they might be, because there were 3 applicants that were interviewed, so they might be just considering other
Okay.
applicants.
Further comment? Public comment on 7.1?
I'm now calling for public comment for item 7.1, updates on commissioner vacancies. And no speakers switched to this item, and I'm not seeing any hands raised in the same.
Item 8.1, any commissioner updates?
Oh, everything today, no.
I do not.
I have huge thank yous to give to the interpretive staff, Catherine, Tracy, Lauren, and of course, the Parks Foundation, Christina, who helped me with my community event on September 13th in Memorial Park. It was absolutely awesome. We had capacity crowd of about 40 people, all doing yoga in the middle of the redwoods. And they went on the interpretive hike down, saw the stream restoration. And then we came back and had massive taco bar. And I had so many people say they had never been there, they want to do it again, they want to do yoga in the park again. So it was just a really beautiful event, and I really cannot thank the staff enough for everything they did to help with that event. It's just out of the park.
Pun intended.
Yeah, I know.
Most
Sorry.
of your-
I'm still in baseball season.
Most of your attendees were, chair, were all locals were people that you knew or invited or?
They were local from Pescadero, La Honda, but they were also, I had several come over the hill. I had one colleague come from Oakland.
Sweet.
So it was pretty, and we had a group of high schoolers who are very interested in working more, doing more community events, who are both for the environmental learning and also just for kind of community building skills. So it was really exciting to have them everybody loved doing the scavenger hunt. Like even the adults are like, oh, we gotta do the scavenger hunt, you know, check everything off. And so that was really, really great. And then the other thing, Parks Foundation hosted this forest therapy by the sea earlier in the month. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Blew me away. I mean, it was really awesome. Out at the beach. Bob was there with the drone, so I'm sure there's great footage of that, but it was just a really nice community. Grounding space to get people out in nature and like observing and people came from all over and you know, it was just a beautiful community exercise. And at the very end, this huge pot of dolphins shows up and starts playing in the waves. It was like
That's awesome.
you couldn't have like, if it was Nicholas was there, I would have said he'd like set it up to make it happen.
Hey, you know, I didn't.
Maybe, yeah, that's true, but no, it was really awesome. So again, like,
Did you expect those dolphins to show up?
no, but at the beginning of the thing, we said, you know, what would make today perfect was like, oh, you know, if we saw whales out there, but this crowd pot of dolphins showed up. So again, just the partnerships of the Parks Foundation, the interpretive staff, it's just park staff in general. It's just amazing. So get out there and take advantage of all these cool things. All right, that was my update.
Good update.
You know what, I ponder sometimes, I have an update. I would say in going on year 9, and we have 2 months left for the rest of this year. I've gotta say that you've gotten a lot done and you've been sort of the pillar, and it's just us 3 now. And it's probably gonna be us 3 for a while, and I mean a while. It's not, I think we're gonna be November and December, us 3. You're not gonna get, and not to undermine or speak below the belt on anything, it's just you've gotta find the right people who want to have in their best interest, and you want a strong foundation on this commission. Historically, we've had a good backbone of really good people that wanna be here. So I've gotta, you know, salute and show your flowers, what you've done thus far since January, Irma, to now of October, that you've kind of sort of taken that leap of faith and you've just taken initiative and say, you know what? I don't know how long my term is gonna be, what's my future, but I think by and large, from January till now, you have had a lot, you've gotten a lot done. So I just wanna recognize you.
Thank you so much. And that's a great segue into, we've got 2 meetings left. And one of my goals is by the end of the year is to, you know, have our work plan, review our work plan, be able to compile a letter to the supervisors to say, this is what we've covered this year. Here's what we're feeling, you know, here's what we've accomplished. So in November, what I'd like to discuss in addition to, I think we have some more discussion on the application for Sam McDonald Park and putting that recommendation forth. We can discuss that in November, but also maybe doing some reflection there about on our work plan, the 3 areas we wanted to highlight and kind of summing them up. And then hopefully December will be, you know, finishing that up and any other, you know, coming up with any other partners we wanted to talk to or any other things. So getting things in place for 2026. And I believe we'll have elections in January. Give another month maybe for these other vacancies to be filled is the right way to go.
Sure. I mean, I would say it's up to the commission to decide that. I know when we had this in the past where we had 2 vacancies and the 3 commissioners on the elections were deferred until vacancies were filled, just so you could have kind of more like of a cycle or like option for you know, electing those officers. But I think you could certainly still proceed in the January timing to elect new officers as well. That's kind of up to the commission to decide it. It's not required to do it in January.
Okay.
You could defer and extend your term as the chair.
That's yeah, I think a couple years ago,
For
Or-
her, yeah,
JJ
yeah.
ended up there was an action to sort of extend his chair until such time as more people, I think until you
So you had a
and Thad were
full
added.
commission again. Yeah.
Which that's kind of, I think, a last case, not ideal scenario, and certainly that's not what you have to do. I would probably recommend that you not wait too long to at least, I mean, because there are only three of you
Mhm.
and you're kind of one away from one person being sick from not having a meeting,
Mhm.
that it might be a good idea to at the very least get that 2026 calendar item
Okay.
on, sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
Again, that can wait till December, but you don't have a calendar for 2026 yet. And I know, for example, that the first Thursday in January is January 1st, so I doubt very much you're gonna be meeting on that date. But it would be a good idea, I'm not gonna be here, but it would be a good idea to probably get moving on that.
Okay.
Sooner rather than later. And then we can raise that issue when we come to it. I will again make the point that I love the offsites, they're great meetings, but the Brown Act requires that meeting locations be ADA accessible.
Mhm.
So we have to take that into account when we're thinking about where we're gonna be planning meetings, especially for our offsites.
Okay. Further comments, input on the updates? We can open it up to public comment for 8.1.
Yeah, now calling for public comment on item 8.1, which is commissioner update. I have no speakers listed for this item, and I'm seeing no hands raised in Zoom.
Item number 9, items for future agenda. I think we have a couple of those, but I will ask commissioners if you have anything you'd like to prioritize for the November meeting. Now would be the time to suggest that. Not, we can move to adjourn.
And my
Unless-
apologies, I think I jumped the gun on what I just said.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, we'll move it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than public
Future
comment, I
agendas,
think, yeah.
So calling for public comment for item 9, which is items for future agenda. And I have no speakers listed for this item and seeing no hands in Zoom for public comment.
All right, well, with that, then I move to adjourn 5:33. Thank you. So
Wonderful.
missed the first.